Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First, our apologies for the late start. You know, a lot of us had some issues with the traffic, so we had to just wait a little to ensure everyone got here safely. Now that we are here, let me say welcome to JAMPRO's Local Direct Investment Seminar. My name is Deidre Dixon, and I will be your moderator this morning. Before we proceed with our program, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate the presence of all the participants who have joined us today. Ms. Gail Barrett, Acting Vice President for the Investment and Linkages Division here at JAMPRO. Ms. Delia Wright, Director, Tourism, Economics and Facilitation, Ministry of Tourism. Mr. O'Shane Williams, Director of Licensing and Application, the Cannabis Licensing Authority. Mr. Andre Williams, Chief Information Officer, Jamaica Customs Agency. Ms. Monique Williams, Business Development Manager, Tourism Product Development Company. Mr. Stephen Richards, Management Development, Delivery and Support, Jamaica Customs Agency. Ms. Tamar Henry, Tourism Incentives and Facilitation Officer, Ministry of Tourism. Mrs. Kadian Phipps Benjamin, Technical Coordinator, Ministry of Tourism. Mrs. Janine Chin, Project Manager, Jamaica Business Gateway. Members of the press or online audience, good morning. To all the participants and attendees here this morning, you are all our esteemed guests. A pleasant good morning to you all and a warm welcome to this direct investment seminar, which is focused on the Jamaica Business Gateway. The Jamaica Business Gateway is an online portal which symbolizes the beginning of a new journey that will eventually see all of government's business services linked and integrated in a single online space. This portal will allow businesses to navigate in a simple way the various government processes surrounding applications for different permits, licenses, and government approvals, as well as track the status of the applications and much more. Again, this is an online facility, ladies and gentlemen. So we will be able to submit applications from the comforts of our homes or offices, in our car, anywhere. But this information that I am sharing with you is just introductory. I am just the moderator. I am not the source of the information. We have great speakers here that will delve into the information and provide more details. You see, the aim of this engagement is really to provide information on the gateway and to properly inform everyone about its purpose, benefits, the status of the portal, what to expect, and more. The program will proceed as follows. We will have welcome and opening remarks by JAMPRO's Vice President, Ms. Gail Barrett, a presentation about the duties of JAMPRO's Investment Facilitation Department by Mrs. Latoya Dawes, Acting Manager for the Investment Facilitation Department at JAMPRO. Presentation on Jamaica Business Gateway by Mrs. Janine Chin, Project Manager for Jamaica Business Gateway. A roundtable discussion with various government agencies covering the Business Gateway. A question and answer segment, closing remarks, and then we are asking those who are able to remain with us after the closing remarks to participate in a networking session. So without further ado, let us begin. I will now invite Ms. Gail Barrett, Vice President for the Investment and Linkages Division here at JAMPRO, to the podium to conduct the welcome remarks.
Thank you, Deidre. Good morning. I'm not going to repeat all the salutations that Deidre just gave, so I just want to acknowledge everyone that is here and thank you for being here this morning. Am I not? Do I just bend my knee a little? Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this annual Local Direct Investment Forum. Whether you are here in person or joining us virtually, we are delighted to welcome such a diverse and enthusiastic group of participants. This year's focus is the Jamaica Business Gateway online platform created to improve investor experience by streamlining interactions with the government and offering access to all relevant stakeholders along the permits and approvals application process. We have with us today an experienced lineup of presenters and speakers, each bringing their wealth of knowledge and experience. Over the course of the forum, we'll have the chance to explore our topic, unlocking economic potential through digital transformation. And we encourage all of you to be active participants in the conversations as they unfold. I encourage you to approach today's sessions with an open mind and a spirit of curiosity, and committed to a constructive dialogue, whether through asking questions, sharing insights, or simply reflecting on the perspective shared. Your involvement would help to shape the success of this forum. Thank you once again for being here, and I look forward to a fruitful, enriching discussion. I now hand over to Deirdre again. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. We will now welcome Mrs. Latoya Dawes to the podium.
Okay. We should have there should be a presentation. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so as Deidre just said, I'm Latoya Dawes, and I am the acting manager in the investment facilitation department at JAMPRO. So we are your host this morning, and on behalf of our team, it's our pleasure to welcome you here. We're grateful for your presence, and we hope it will be an enlightening session for you this morning. Currently, we are a team of 4 very committed and hardworking females. So there is me. We have Javia McMaster, Vanessa Blair, and Tarsia Farquharson, but they're on the outside, so you'll get to meet them after the discussions and presentations during our networking session. So this morning, I'll be giving you a brief overview of our roles and functions of the department so you can have an appreciation of what we do on a daily basis. But before I do so, I just want to put things into context from an organizational perspective. So you may know that JAMPRO's mandate is to drive Jamaica's economic development through growth in exports, investments, and local linkages, making Jamaica the premier destination to do business. So at JAMPRO, we have 2 main promotional divisions. So it's exports, led by Ms. Linton, and investments and linkages, led by Ms. Gail Barrett. So our department, Investment Facilitation Department, falls under investments and linkages. And our division is responsible for promoting and identifying investments in targeted sectors, which currently are tourism, agribusiness, global digital services, manufacturing, logistics, and the promotion of special economic zones. So once an investor commits to investing in one of these sectors, it becomes an investment project, and it's handed over to our department, and we take on the critical role of hand-holding that investment project and to ensure its successful implementation in Jamaica. So before I delve into our specific roles, I also want to share with you why we began this seminar a few years ago. So we found that in our interactions with exporters and investors, we found that persons were unaware or misinformed about various processes, policies, business reforms. And this has hindered their successful and timely implementation of their projects. It has cost them money. So we decided to get a feel from the investors about topics that they may want to know about And then we decide to host these seminars to reach a broader cross-section of persons. So in 2018, we had a developers seminar which focused on building approvals and building codes. In 2019, we hosted a labor, immigration, and investment seminar which focused on work permits and immigration policies as well as labor laws. In 2022, as you see, there was a lag because of COVID. In 2022, we focused on online platforms which focus on utilizing TAJ website to do several transactions. In 2022, because of the demand for information on building and development, we had another planning and development seminar which focused on building approvals and highlighted the roles and functions of key entities who are involved in building and development approvals. For example, NEPA Parish Council's Bureau Standards of Jamaica. Last year, we did a special economic zones where we focus on the benefits of operating within SEZs. This year, Jamaica Business Gateway. This platform is designed to enhance the investor's experience by streamlining interactions with the government. And we think it's very crucial now as digital transformation is the buzzword. So Ms. Janine Chin will tell you all about that, so I don't need to get into that. So now we look on the roles and functions of our department. I won't get into everything, I'll just focus on the main one. So we are responsible for communicating relevant information, and we provide advice on licenses, permits, and incentives to investors. So we ensure investors receive relevant and accurate information. So our department, we have knowledge across all the sectors that we target. So we are able to advise them on all the sectors. And today's seminar is a part of that commitment to provide relevant information to our investors and exporters. We provide advice on processes relating to like work permits, incentive applications, visa applications for persons entering Jamaica. So our team reviews these applications and we check them for accuracy before they are submitted. So for example, if you need a work permit and you can't find a Jamaican to fill that critical role and you have to employ someone from overseas, we will advise you on that process and take you through that step and submit the application on your behalf. No, you will be able to do it on the Jamaica Business Gateway, but we can still advise you on how to do it. All right. So we also intervene with stakeholder agencies to address any issues you're having. So we act as an intermediary between you, the investor, and the various government agencies. So when we call on Tamar from the Ministry of Tourism when we have an issue, if an investor comes to us with an issue, we can reach out to Ministry of Tourism and they will assist us and we get back to the investor with a resolution. So basically we are an intermediary to help investors cut the red tape and just be your problem-solving partner, essentially. So also we escalate projects that present significant challenges. Usually these could be policy-based, so we escalate these issues to our president at JAMPRO or to our parent ministry to facilitate resolution as needed. We are also required to track and monitor data on CapEx and jobs. So we want to know that the projects we're assisting are creating employment and investing capital expenditure into the economy. So we often ask our investors to let us know how many persons you're employing, how much did you spend on your equipment, purchase of land, etc. We also facilitate stakeholder meetings. So based on the investor needs, we will reach out to different agencies to facilitate meetings. So we could call out on the special economic zones, CLA, Jamaica Customs, to facilitate meetings for investors. And lastly, policy advocacy. We advocate for policy reforms. At JAMPRO, we have a policy advocacy and business reforms department. So based on our conversations with investors, we get insights on issues that they're having and inefficiencies in the system. And we provide this feedback to our policy team. So those are some of the main functions. We do a lot more, but I won't get into everything this morning. So these are just some of the processes I mentioned them before. We help with work permits, incentive applications that are done through the Ministry of Tourism, manufacturing incentives. We assist with port of entry visas and extension of stays, applications with PICA. And like I said before, we engage government agencies to clear bureaucratic roadblocks. So these are some of our main GOJ partners. Basically, we work with all the ministries and agencies of government. So, sorry, it's a lot. Sorry. Right, so hopefully you have gotten a better idea of what we do on a day-to-day. We're not trying to replace the ministries. We all collaborate and work together to try to make investments as seamless, investing in Jamaica as seamless as possible. So thank you for joining us this morning. I hope it will be a productive session, and as we explore how digital transformation will help us to evolve as a country and how we do business in Jamaica. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Dawes. What's important to note as well, so everything that Mrs. Dawes just shared, she shared about barrage of services that we do offer here. And yes, it's a lovely team, lovely ladies, very nice and friendly, and they work very hard. But one of the things I would like you to share with your friends or even potential investors is that when they seek this assistance from JAMPRO, it's free. We do not charge a dime, all right? It is free. Our partner agencies may charge a small fee, but we don't, all right? So you can just tell your friends that. Now, as Ms. Barrett said earlier in her opening remarks, the theme for this seminar is Jamaica Business Gateway, Unlocking Economic Potential Through Digital Transformation. So we are jumping right into the topic at hand, and we will do so by commencing with a short video on the Jamaica Business Gateway.
Enter Jamaica's gateway for doing business. Access the government business services you need in a user-friendly, unified virtual space. The Jamaica Business Gateway. The JBG allows easier communication between you and government ministries, departments, and agencies. Submit applications online through simplified processes. Monitor their progress on one dashboard and gain faster approvals than before. Visit JamaicaBusinessGateway.com, your one-stop shop for government business, service, information, and processes.
So that's the end of the video. So we will now welcome Mrs. Janine Chin. She is the project manager for the Jamaica Business Gateway project. Please welcome her. She will be sharing a lot of information with you. Also note that at the end, when you have your questions and answers, it will be directed to her. Just joking, but please welcome her.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. All right. I don't want you to be scared when you hear I have a lot to tell you. Yes, there is a lot to tell, but I've tried to make it as concise as possible. After the presentation, we're also going to have a very brief panel discussion because, we want to keep things lively. And so we'll take questions at that time. So until the presentation comes up, I will just give you an idea of the things that I'll go through. I'll give you a little background and context to the Jamaica Business Gateway as they make their way to the first slide. I'll also share how we have moved from being a project to a strategic initiative of government. I'll give a little explanation on the digital transformation process. So there's an appreciation of how we got where we are and where we're headed. The key user experience features, giving you a snapshot of exactly what you'll see and what's next for the JBG. All right, so we're clicking. All right, so this is what I would have just taken you through. Now, just to give a brief history, there was an alignment of thoughts across government entities in 2016 into 2017, where JAMPRO's board, the Economic Growth Council, many government partners, ministries, departments, and agencies, and I'll refer to them as MDAs, recognize the need for a singular platform through which government permits, licenses, and certifications could be accessed. Now, many of us have had the experience of needing to apply for something just as a citizen. And you go to one office and they give you a piece of paper and you take that paper and they tell you have to go to another office. And then when you get there, they say, sorry, wrong place, and you go around in circles sometimes, and it can be quite frustrating. The government of Jamaica has been committed to moving in the direction of digital transformation, and it's the very same when it comes to business. And so, in 2017, with this common knowledge that something had to change, the concept of what was then called the National Business Portal was developed. And it was thought that this could be a place where information could be found. You could find out the steps, so you're not just running around on the road. And you would see through that portal how you can do business. It was endorsed by the ICT Council in 2017, and by 2018 there was a partnership with Ego Jamaica Limited, and they did the first version, then called the National Business Portal, which really focused on information about how to do business. If you wanted to start, if you needed a license, a permit, it was all there. But in 2018, we also went a step further and started a project. And that project is what is now the Jamaica Business Gateway. And we're trying to move the slides. I'll keep talking until we get, all right, great. So, as mentioned, it's a strategic initiative of government, and it can be found at jamaicabusinessgateway.com. We of course, retained the content side of things. So one of the main features is you'll find that information. Everything you need to know about what to do with any MDA across government. Once it has to do with a business license, you can get the information there. There are easy to follow guides, so you know exactly what is required. Also, a very key feature, and what you'll hear a lot about today, is the transactional side of things, the ability to actually start an application, not having to go in office, but start it there, and to also register investment projects. Latoya would have mentioned earlier that the Investment Facilitation Division works very closely with investors on projects, and so through the gateway, you could actually start the process of registering that project and starting that communication with JAMPRO. Now, the project, the JBG, was started under a much larger project called the Foundations for Competitiveness and Growth Project, and that was funded by the World Bank and managed by PIOJ. Elements, however, like the JBG, were executed by JAMPRO. And it's understood because JAMPRO is that arm of business that really focuses on investment facilitation. The project sought to modernize and improve the efficiencies of our government partners and strategically aligned with Jamaica's national priorities for doing business. Now, moving from being a project to now being strategic was very deliberate. As you can imagine, a lot of times you have these donor-funded projects that it's for a very specific time. It's a number of years, and there are some key milestones to be met. But at the end of it, you wonder what happens next. And this is the reason why I make reference to the fact that we have shifted from just being a project to being a strategic initiative. And so economic growth and competitiveness is a very important pillar. We see that through the gateway, we are improving the investment climate, and that's because we're simplifying the way business registration and facilitation happens. And there's not a limitation. It's not just about investment and we're thinking foreign investors. It's really about both domestic and foreign investment. So we are improving that climate. We're enhancing competitiveness by strengthening how Jamaica can compete globally, by increasing investor confidence and moving in the trajectory of the globe. Now, secondary is public sector efficiency and modernization by streamlining bureaucracy. The Gateway helps to reduce bureaucratic red tape in business-related processes. Now, as mentioned before, sometimes you have these processes that you have to apply for, and there are several entities that are involved. By streamlining how things are done on the Gateway, we're able to reduce those challenges because everybody's operating on the same platform. There's also the matter of modernizing service delivery through digital transformation. It means that things become more efficient, transparent, and user-friendly. Thirdly, there's an alignment with the national policy on strategic development. And just to note, we're aligned with the National Investment Policy. That policy certainly has been in place to focus on business processes and environment reform. And a part of that reform, of course, is moving to being more streamlined and having an investment-friendly environment. We're also supporting the long-term goals, strategic goals of government to modernize efforts and have digital transformation. And so everything is quite aligned with the overall objectives of the government of Jamaica. We see that we're driving digital government transformation by prioritizing how we modernize the public sector. The Gateway has become a part of that initiative by using technology to simplify and expedite public processes and promoting a culture that encourages innovation in our government services. There's enhanced transparency and governance. Oftentimes you may find that you started a process, but you're not quite sure where you are. You don't know which office it is in, what desk it has landed on. You're trying to call to get an update. You're not getting through. The transparency that the Gateway provides is you'll actually see exactly where you are in each process, and you have a mode through which you are able to get notifications and also have dialogue with government entities. Now, I know somebody has gone to assist with the slides moving, so I will just keep talking. So as we get into what the benefits and the impact is, we've looked on it from two directions, because our main stakeholders are not just our investors or business community, but also our Government of Jamaica partners who themselves have a lot of these processes and applications coming in. And as exhausting as it can be to submit, it is also quite a task sometimes to take these papers and go through and process them. So for our government partners, it's a simplified business process for them. We would have taken them through re-engineering. As you can imagine, when you're accustomed to doing something by paper and now it's digital, we sat with the teams, and we have some of them here today, and we'll hear a little of their wonderful experience. But we sat with them, all the persons that were impacted from the different departments, to understand what happens internally. When a paper moves from one desk to the other, how could we make it easier? What kind of information do they tend to need that sometimes they spend a lot of time trying to manually pull together? And so for them, simplifying the business process meant going through that re-engineering. There's also increased information sharing. We have discussion boards. They have the ability to generate reports, and they can also share details amongst themselves across different entities that will support the facilitation and the services that they provide. And reporting, of course, is very important because they are now able to have a deeper level of data to generate their own reports, and this helps to provide for them faster decision-making not only on applications, but also in their general operations, and sometimes too can help to inform policy decisions that have to be made. Now for the business community, information 24/7. You're not waiting on office hours. You, at any point in time, can log on to the Gateway, understand through the content what is required, what it will take, and actually start your application. And the forms were done in a way where we understand how things go. You may have started an application, you have to stop, you're able to save it. You'll have your own dashboard to be able to manage all of these things. If the light goes, it saves it. You're able to go back and continue the process. So no more office hours, access 24/7. It streamlines your experience because your applications are online, as I mentioned, the dashboard before. And all in all, you will have faster approval because both for the applicant and for the government entity, they are now moving in a much more efficient manner. So what is digital transformation? We've said it a couple times, we've spoken about it, it's a buzzword, let's break it down. Digital transformation means that you're leveraging technology to overhaul the traditional process by replacing your manual steps with digital solutions that improve efficiency and service delivery. It removes the challenges that the manual process has in terms of time, resource intensiveness, increasing errors, which is natural, limited accessibility, and high administrative costs. So now with transformation, you don't have to worry about being in Westmoreland needing to do an application in Kingston. It's all available for you. And what that means is that there's a process. Now, the global standard for digital transformation, and we would use nothing less, means that you go through the process of assessment, planning and designing, development, testing, and training. And this process was not only for the entities involved, but certainly it became very much a public-private sector partnership at work. Before we began, we also had to consult the business community. We got in touch with several associations, we had consultation meetings, we got feedback because we needed to know the pain points that we needed to address, not only for the entities, but for the persons that we serve as well, the businesses we serve. So this became and will continue to be the direction in which we have approached the Gateway. No longer just a project, but a strategic initiative. And so in looking at assessment, we had to understand what was happening internally. And we were able to categorize the level of digital readiness of the varying entities. Category A means there was absolutely no online presence. You couldn't start the form, you couldn't download the form, you had to go into the office, get the paper, and everything was absolutely manual. And that meant they needed everything. We needed to re-engineer, we needed to do all the things. Category B meant that there was no online process, but the actual application was a very simple workflow. It meant we didn't have to necessarily re-engineer, re-engineering meaning change the way in which the process worked. And so we could move a little faster in getting them online. Category C meant there was no presence online, but the entity may have had automation in-house. For some, there are client relationship management tools that are used to manage their processes, but they had nothing for clients to engage with. And so for them, the Gateway provided that area in which applications could start and they could continue on their system. And then you had those that they had no presence online, they have an online presence, but it was positive. They didn't actually need anything changed. However, they may be involved in several other processes, and so we had to integrate with their system to provide more service. And an example of that, and we'll hear a little bit more of that, is Jamaica Customs Agency. They do have their system, it is robust, but they are actually involved in several processes. And so we needed to find a way to make the both systems talk. Because what was very important for us is not duplicating effort, but making sure that all together we worked closely to make all government portals work together for what was needed. And so as we moved into planning and designing, we saw that we had to define, and we've had to define and redefine what a process truly is. Because when we started, it was very simple. There's a form, a business had to apply so they could get a designation to operate in business. But as we evolved and as we got to working very deeply with the entities, we recognized that what we saw as one process sometimes was actually 5, because there were different forms and different applications that were completely distinct that they had to engage with. And so over time, we were able to refine our definition that it's any engagement of the system, any interaction with the JBG that will result in a change in the applicant's status is in fact a process. And so what this takes into consideration is the fact that we have a result, we have a license, we have a certificate, we have a permit. It also means it requires a new set of forms to launch a brand new application process, and it's not embedded within an existing process. And so this is how we now define a discrete application on the JBG. Now, development, as I would have alluded to earlier, was indeed a collaborative approach. And I will not try to mention all the ministries, departments, and agencies we work with. I know Latoya attempted to show you. I would say that we perhaps worked with all of the same. But what I can say is, as you'll see a depiction, and I know there are acronyms, I'll just name them, but it truly is an all-of-government approach. We have the Ministry of Industry, Investment, and Commerce naturally being the largest participant on the JBG, but they are the business ministry, and so it is completely understood that many of their entities, many of their agencies would have these type of applications that need to be online. But reflective here is the sectors of entertainment, creative industries, manufacturing, agriculture, film production, cannabis industry, and tourism, just to name a few that are all represented with several processes on the gateway. And once we got to this, we had to move to a period of testing and training. And testing and training is not finite, it's an ongoing process. We approached it in the project by doing our development, testing, and training in phases. And so what we have representative here is based on the various phases of the project. Now, what I will explain is the difference in numbers you're seeing. When we started, we had the first phase expected to produce 14 processes. But at the end of that phase, we had 56. The second phase, we expected to have 4, but we ended with 10. And in the third phase, which is near close, we expected 25, and we closed with 93. And so what we were producing and excited about producing 43 processes in short order quickly became 159 processes, discrete processes that are available on the Jamaica Business Gateway. And it was indeed a fantastic experience with the ministries, departments, and agencies involved, because when we got to that testing and training and we had the session and they pulled their teams in, that's when they truly understood the breadth of what was available, and that's when we quickly started expanding. And so I really want to acknowledge the hard work of all those teams in really holding and owning and appreciating the change that was going to happen for them and their clients to move us from 43 to 159 and climbing. All right? Now, we're going to get into the fun stuff, the meat of the matter. What is the Jamaica Business Gateway? Now, just to highlight a few of the key features you'll see in the user experience, and I would have alluded to a few. I've just inserted a few screenshots so you can see. It is a user-friendly site with information and quick guides. So as mentioned, you see everything from starting a business to closing a business. And what we made sure is that even if you cannot start a process on the gateway, you had a link to the respective agency. So for example, starting a business resides with Companies Office of Jamaica. And there are other processes where entities may have their own site with their application forms. Again, we're not duplicating efforts. We have to use the time wisely and get to that 159. So where we had the opportunity to, we made connections with other sites and made sure that the user experience was seamless. So importantly, the information is there. You can find out what to do, where to do. If you can start it on the gateway, you will be taken to the space in which you can start your application. But if it resides on another portal, you're seamlessly brought there. But one thing you will have is the information. We made sure that there was a help desk, ticketing, and articles. And with anything new, persons need an opportunity to be able to ask questions, and no question is simple. Sometimes the questions that come may not be ours, and we field it into the respective entities, but we've made sure there are several areas in which persons can get some help. So we have a chatbot, we have a ticketing as mentioned, the boxes you'll see on the screen about information. There are several articles that are added to the platform, and it really does help to auto-generate information, but provide persons with additional information as well. And if all else fails and there's the desire to connect with someone, there's that opportunity as well. We've made sure that it's streamlined and integrated across all government entities. So just to give you an idea of what you're seeing here, in the top right corner in red, it's underlined because this particular application had to do with a productive input relief for manufacturing. Now, a productive input relief, as the name suggests, is a concession of sorts when there are inputs in a manufacturing process. And we do have a few PIRs on the JBG. But naturally, as a part of that, customs gets involved. And so what the gateway is able to do is to send the relevant information, including requests for inspections that are in the process, to the gateway, to customs, because both teams work together. And so what you're seeing underlined with yellow is the notification that came back in the system that it was returned from the JCA. So at the point in which there had to be communication, there would be a push to the JCA. The JCA team will have the ability to review, do what they need, and push back to the team. So we've made sure things are streamlined and integrated across GOJ entities. And as we continue to expand, those functionalities will continue to evolve with other entities as well. There's transparency and accountability with progress trackers. I would have mentioned earlier that there's the ability to know where you are in the process and not have to keep calling. And so with individual dashboards, you're actually able to see what the steps are in your process and where you are. So at the very top of the bar, you have that nice little icon to the side. That's for Cannabis Licensing Authority. And you can see that there were several steps outlined for the process. And the green notification bar is actually telling you what stage you're at. So you know exactly where you are, whether it is with the CLA, if something has been sent to another entity, you're clear on where you are in the process. And you will see at the bottom, there are also notifications and areas for collaboration that are available as well. And this is all with the client's dashboard. And as mentioned, the individual dashboard to manage all your processes. Now, we do have businesses that have several applications across different MDAs. And so what they're able to do through one dashboard is see where they are with all of their applications. And this was a very key feature for the gateway, that ability to centralize your own experience. It's not only limited to one entity at a time. One dashboard will allow you to have all of the applications that are open for you to be able to see and manage. And so as we think about what is next, what's next for the gateway is ongoing use and support and ongoing phased development. Now, I just want to touch on the use and support in developing and implementing digital transformation specifically as a very important part of what's next. With any system, once you put it out there, there's still work to be done. There has to be ongoing maintenance, and that is critical and often underestimated. Now, once you launch, there's a requirement for continuous updating, monitoring, improving, and ensuring that things remain functional, secure, and responsive to changing needs. So what does that practically mean? It means when entities have had their application processes available and they start to slowly invite clients, there are going to be challenges. In the same way that when entities started, they had to have that period of change, of questioning, of understanding what to use, we expect the very same for our applicants. But remember, this is a public and private partnership, and we know together we've gotten here, and we have so much further to go. And so what we're expecting in digital transformation, what is a globally understood method, is that there are bug fixes and performances. You ever use WhatsApp or something on your laptop, and one day it just decides it's not working? There's a bug fix taking place. There's an upgrade taking place, and it will be the same. So we'll have upgrades in technology as well. There are also new means of integrating systems and making things more efficient. And so we expect with upgrades in technology, the platform will continue to have its own upgrades. Feedback-driven enhancement, absolutely key. We had it with our entities. We've had it with some clients who have come on slowly, and we look forward to having it continue. New features will be developed. We've had several features that we didn't start with, but we have now, because it's in the using and the feedback that we're able to recognize other opportunities for the platform. And adaptability to industry changes. No industry is static. And so if there are changes happening in the industry and we need to be nimble in how we are able to communicate and offer services through the gateway, we'll have those upgrades as well, and we look forward to those. And so in the future, what we're looking at in how we'll work is we'll have expanded content. There'll always be new information to share. We'll have new processes to be added. We actually have quite a list now that we are looking through and hoping to bring on board soon. We'll have ongoing training and support for our entities and our clients. We will also have integration with other portals. We're in discussions with other government entities and their portals, and to see how we can integrate to make the experience even better. We're looking forward to more communication campaigns and opportunities like this where we can let everyone know exactly what we have and what to look forward to. And very soon we'll also have online payments. One of our partners, eGov, who started with us, who started with just the information portal, is working with us to also bring on stream the ability for persons to pay online. So imagine starting your application online, having discussions as you need to online, tracking it online, getting the decisions online, and making your payments online. That's all of what we're looking forward to in the very short future with the Jamaica Business Gateway. And that is my brief summary on what we have to offer, and I thank you for that attention. And without breaking, I'm going to invite the panelists to join me. We have Tamara Henry from the Ministry of Tourism, O'Shane Williams from the Cannabis Licensing Authority, and Sheldon Reed from JAMPRO. We're just gonna wait on their mic. Morning, guys.
Morning.
Our conversations are normally through Teams. We had the, I don't know if I'm gonna call it pleasure of doing a lot of our work during COVID. So we've spent a lot of time on screen and not enough time in person, so very happy to be here with you and have you here this morning. So I'm going to start with some very general questions. I trust the team will be candid in their experience because we know and we appreciate that this is a journey and we have come very far from where we started. So let me start off by saying, by having you introduce yourselves first. The three members here today are nominated by their organization. Each organization nominated an individual to be the focal point. So they are really the flag bearers of their organizations in bringing this transformative change. And so this is why they're in the hot seat this morning. All right? So if you could start by just introducing yourselves, who you are, where you're from, and what you do. Shane?
Morning, everyone. Can you hear me clearly? Yeah. Okay. My name is O'Shane Williams, and I am the Director of Licensing and Applications at the Cannabis Licensing Authority.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Tamara Henry. I am the Tourism Incentives and Facilitation Analyst at the Ministry of Tourism.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Sheldon Reed. I am a consulting officer here at JAMPRO with the Film Animation and Music Department. We also double as the Jamaica Film Commission.
All right, thank you. So let's get into some general questions. Now, before your processes were available through the JBG, what were the main pain points for your clients and your team, and how has the JBG sought to address this?
Okay, let me go first. Okay, for us at the Cannabis Licensing Authority, Janine, and everyone, we did something similar to, I'll call it a sentiment analysis, to find out how our industry stakeholders feel about the process. And from that process, I believe 4 things came to the forefront. 1, the length of time it takes to process an application. 2, the variation in the documents that are required. Oftentimes, that is viewed as being cumbersome.
It's okay, we're used to being nimble with the JBG. All right. Okay, so we're back up. Apologies for the brief interruption, but I think we're back now with persons on the stream. Happy to have you back. And much like we would have mentioned before, when things go down on the JBG, they are indeed saved. And so we will roll right back into the question. So O'Shane, you were sharing with us the fact that you would have canvassed your clients, and there were 4 distinct things that you were finding out about the pain points. If you could just take us back through those.
Okay, no problem. So from the sentiment analysis, we have 4 pain points. 1, the time it takes to process an application. 2, the variation in documents that are required are viewed as being cumbersome by the clients. 3, the need for better transparency. And 4, a need for effective communication. Now, with the JBG being an automated process, an online process, and removing the human errors and things that you mentioned in your presentation, then certainly the application processing time would be quicker, because now you're relying on computer technology and not human effort, which is obviously will be slower. Secondly, the matter of the variation in the documents that are required. What the JBG provides is a curated space. So if your application requires, let's say, of a potential 10 things, only 5, you will only interact with those 5 things, as opposed to initially, you would have to go through to determine where you need to fill out, etc., which is a longer process. So it curates the experience and it makes it shorter. The third point is the need for transparency. I believe that was said from we came into the room this morning, that someone can sit where they are and have an idea as to exactly where their application is, who is it with, and that's a very good thing. And finally, the need for effective communication. You spoke to a help desk. You can speak directly to the person in possession of your application at the appropriate stage, ask the relevant questions, and you will get a response. You don't need to check an email. It's literally a pop-up that comes up in your inbox. So I believe that's how the JBG would have ameliorated those 4 things.
Thank you for that. And I must admit, we were very excited to have the Cannabis Licensing Authority because as a regulator, you can imagine there are a lot of rigors that are involved. And they are one of a few regulatory authorities we have. And so we're very happy to see how the process has helped to help both them and their clients. So thanks for that. And Tamar, for you, the main pain points you would have identified?
Well, the difference with our stakeholders is that they have no problem with finding ways to communicate. So we didn't have to go through any survey process, but I would agree it's in terms of the tediousness of compiling the information. And I think because, of course, you would have spoken to the collaboration that we have in terms of conversation, you would find that persons would reach out to you and then you'd have to reach out to us to double check whether or not they would need to come to us. And then we'd inform you and then they'd have to come back to us. So having that seamlessness in terms of moving through the different entities, I think, was a pain point for them because they weren't sure where to go, who to speak to. So that was a pain point for them. And a lot of times when they call, you'd spend an extra 15 minutes on the phone saying, call this person, ask for this is the document you need, don't get this one. Because I think also a lot of the things that they complained about is that because they went and they would go to another entity and just ask one question, the entity would answer the one question, not necessarily giving them all of the information that they needed. So I think the JBG does that in addressing the need to be able to know everything that they need at the time that they need it.
Wonderful. And Sheldon?
I don't think I really need to copy and go back through some of these responses because we share quite a lot of the issues that have already been expressed. And because we represent the film industry and the nature of the industry, time is very much important. So we are accessible, but there are too many touch points with our clients because there's a lot of back and forth with documentation, with completing the documentation, and being a part of JAMPRO, we facilitate communication between other MDAs. Of course, there are many of them, and each agency requires a different set of information and documentation to be submitted. So the JBG being that central point and online access would allow us to present a platform where information is readily accessible, B, provide a platform that allows you to communicate with all the MDAs that you need to communicate with just by coming to JAMPRO, and C, we are super accessible in our department, but that also leads to multiple calls and emails because people need, updates on where their applications are or, what the progress is, and the fact that there is a central dashboard telling you where you are in the process also helps us with the team. And I mean, overall, it's an online process, and before it was a paper-intensive process for us and the client. So we do look forward to getting rid of that part of it.
Okay, wonderful. So improved efficiency, improved communication, and very importantly, having information all in one place. So the second general question is, for all of you, you have applicants that are all over Jamaica and sometimes even outside of Jamaica. How do you envision the use of this online tool changing the way you serve your clients? And can you give us an idea of how this has really made a shift in terms of your clients' locations?
Well, what we anticipate is that, because currently you have to come to the office to apply, and we have applications coming from the 4 corners of the island, as far east as Portland and as far west as Westmoreland. So if someone, as you alluded to before, quite accurately, if you're able to sit in a car, sit at home in the mornings, in the nights, when the office is closed, because we, as a government agency, we work 8:30 to 5, generally speaking. And it really gives persons the opportunity at their leisure, on their time, to be able to apply for whatever they need to apply for from our entity. So I believe that is a very good thing.
Thanks for that. And Tamar, you're tourism, so I know your clients are spread. How is it for you?
I believe that because our clients are so unique and they are so diverse, it facilitates even more reach. It facilitates even more investment and economic perspectives for the country. I believe that because they know that they are able to access us in a easier and a simpler manner, that it encourages more of them to reach out. It encourages more of them to get connected, because you do have persons who have many brilliant ideas and they want to be able. You have persons who would have maybe migrated and have decided that they want to invest back into the space and they're not sure where to start. So I believe that them being able to have this kind of access will facilitate an even wider growth of just the sector and Jamaica on a whole.
Wonderful. So we've added growth to the agenda. And Sheldon, your persons are often overseas. What do you look forward to?
Right. So we do service international and local clients equally. So we have persons as far as Germany, the UK, Canada, always coming in, trying to do business with us here in Jamaica to fulfill a film production. We were one of the agencies who would have been benefiting from a hybrid process. We did have an online application process, form per se, to collect information, as well as a manual process, which was more favored by our local partners. I'm looking forward to the automation of the process where it came to making payments. So of course, you have access to your banks via wire transfer, drafts, etc. But that is more so a slower process for international persons, where there's a difference in IBAN numbers that I discovered are way too long. You get that incorrect, you're going to have problems. So the online facilitation, online facilitation of payment via the JBG would absolutely help us there to get rid of that pain point. But having the application process online accessible to all, with the increased communication that we can provide through the dashboard, especially over time differences. When we are not in office, they're up and about, they're getting things done. And of course, again, the time-sensitive nature of the film space, at least they can rest assured that it is in train, they know exactly what's happening, and they will be served in a timely manner.
Okay, wonderful. So let us get to know our panelists a little bit better. I'm going to ask them some individual questions, and we'll start with the CLA. So share with us, I know it's many, but as brief as you can, the categories or the types of applications that can actually be made, that have been made available on the gateway that persons can look forward to availing themselves of.
Okay. So we have all 5 license types, which are cultivator, retailer, processor, transportation, and research and development, further broken down as follows. For cultivators, you have tier 1s, 2, and 3, and that's subject to the size of the property. For processing, we have tiers 1 and 2. Again, the tiers are the difference between the sizes of the processing space. We have retail, herb house. We have retail herb house without facilities for consumption, and we have retail therapeutic services. We also have, in the research and development band, we have experimental as well as analytical services. So it's 5 licenses and 11 license types that you can apply for.
I think you understand why I was excited about the cannabis licensing authority. They have quite a bit that they have to do, and so it has been good to see how things have been supported. And so for you, Tamar, I'm going to ask, you look ready. All right, the Ministry of Tourism has applications that facilitate access to PIRs. Can you share with us what a PIR is, who can access them, and what the application process involves?
Okay, so a PIR is referred to as a productive input relief. This is really a form of incentives or concession that within the tourism sector we have three separate groups that they can access. So the PRR is really just access to whether it be materials or a type of concession that is for the ground transportation, which is one of the categories. So we have accommodations, which is further broken down. We have attractions, and we have ground transportation, which is divided up into contract carriage and car rental operators. So the PRR is really just accessibility, ease of access for persons, especially within the accommodations or attractions, to be able to bring in certain items that they would need for the operations of their establishment. So with regards to the PRR, they are granted incentives, and this allows them to be able to bring in these items to be able to get what they need to enhance their business, enhance their operations, and ensure that they're functioning smoothly. With regards to the concessions for the ground transportation sector, this allows them to be able to bring in like the vehicles they need to be able to enhance their operations. Maybe it is that they have certain contracts with hotels, whether it is that they're a tour operator, and so that they can be able to function and thrive within the economy as well. So those are the persons who have access to PRs. Those are what PRs are. When it comes to the application process, it differs for the three sections. Of course, because accommodations and attractions are incentives, there is an application process that they would have to go through in terms of providing documentation, just to give us a little idea about what their business entails, what their business would offer, and just to give ideas that they would have gotten the requisite approvals to be able to function. And then for the contract carriage and the car rentals, they just have to provide, the proof of the vehicles that they want to bring in to be able to access the concession at that time.
Thanks for that. You see, we try and get some robust processes. And I'm just going to go ahead and ask you a follow-up question since it's on PIRs. The application processes developed on the JBG are not only for existing tourism entities seeking the PIRs, but also facilitate new ones as well. Can you share with us the difference between the new and existing?
Sure. So we have what we call new and existing. So new means that you're not yet in operations, you're currently in the building phase, you're still trying to figure out how it is that your business is going to function. So these are persons who they have their business plan, they're ready to start, but they have not yet gotten all of the tools and the instruments that they need to be able to start. So what we do in order to be able to have access to the PIR is the Ministry of Tourism grants what we call a provisional permit. So this functions in lieu of them having their Jamaica Tourist Board license, which is facilitated through TPD. I see Monique over in the corner. So this allows them to be able to bring the items that they need to be able to become licensed and also to be able to start and begin their operations. So the new, we understand that they would not have yet gotten what they needed in terms of the requisite certificates to receive their Jamaica Tourist Board license, but they also want to be able to bring in the items that they need to be able to start. So we grant the provisional permit so that they are allowed to get the items off of the PIR, and this is what happens for the new entities. With regards to the existing, they have probably been in the sector for a while. They may have established before they knew that the Ministry of Tourism and its agencies had incentives, but maybe they're thinking about refurbishing or expanding, and they want to be able to have access to that incentives now. So for them, the process is a little simpler because they would be in possession of the Jamaica Tourist Board license. So at which point they would only have to advise us that, hey, we have our license, we are, tax compliant, and we would like to be able to access these incentives. And once they reach out to us, then we would facilitate them. The same would go for the ground transportation sector because they already would be licensed. So it's really just about making the necessary application to receive their concessions.
Okay, thank you. So the important takeaway is there's a provision not only for existing, but recognizing the support in facilitating new as well. Wonderful. So let's learn a little bit more about film and animation. Sheldon, as one of the drivers of the Jamaica film industry, your team facilitates film registration applications for your clients. Please share with us what that application entails and its importance for operating in the film sector.
All right. Okay. So the film registration that we issue, you can think of as a trigger. We are recognized as the authority on film, or a film authority in Jamaica. So for literally all productions in Jamaica, they should be registered with the Jamaica Film Commission and the Film Animation and Music Department. And the license that we issue essentially allows you to film in Jamaica, right? As long as we are aware, it is sanctioned, you are good to go. Now, where the trigger comes in is, as a part of JAMPRO, we are essentially a middleman, per se. You come to us if your production needs to touch any other MDA. It allows us to go in on your behalf, whether there needs to be a negotiation, whether there needs to be a follow-up, or a request for an expedited process. Now, the film registration letter forms the basis of any application to other MDAs. So one film production can touch the biggest one, the Jamaica Customs Agency. It can touch the National Works Agency. It can touch the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the JDF in conjunction. We can touch the Urban Development Corporation. Literally every MDA you can think of, there is some need to assist our clients with. So that's what it entails. What we collect, we collect information about your production, the title, how long you're going to be here, what equipment you're pulling in, where you're going to be filming. So we try to pull as much basic information about the production, who's coming, what it's about, and who you need to get in contact with. So at least we have that on file. We'll be able to collect any other information that's required and be able to direct you to the places you need to go once you have indicated it with your film registration.
Okay, thank you for that. And what's the anticipated outlook for improving efficiencies when collaborating with your external entities by using the gateway?
In a singular sense, from the client perspective, one application gets everything done. So the hope is once I've completed, from the client's perspective, once I've completed this application, I have submitted it to you, JAMPRO, I have made, whatever payments or information to you, I have submitted, and I have indicated what services I would need. So if I need to bring in equipment, whatever I have provided to you has gone to JCA. I'd be able to see that process has gone off, they'll be able to communicate with me, I'll be able to know that all my equipment is set to go and I'm cleared. If I need to get in touch with, let's say, PICO, the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, here's the information I provided. I want to know that once I have submitted to you, JAMPRO and the Jamaica Film Commission, that every permit I need has gone to the requisite persons and I can track that and they have access to me. And that's a more seamless process. And that, just for clarity of process, as a client, I want to know where I need to go. I wouldn't have known, if I'm an international person, I wouldn't know or be familiar with the local agencies. I just want to know, here's what I want to do. In your country for how long, this is how long I'm going to be here. You tell me everything I need and the process forward. So in that way, just a simplification of the application processes across the MDAs and clarity of information and ways forward.
Okay, thank you for that. And the last direct question is for the CLA. As a regulatory authority, it's appreciated that the CLA's application process has many steps and requirements. How do you see the JBG supporting your specific needs throughout this application process?
That's a loaded question, Jenny. That's a very loaded question. And let me try to be as succinct as possible because it helps in a myriad of ways. Can you imagine making an application, let's say? It is segmented into different portions. So one, the individual. You have documents for the individual, their IDs, photographs, etc. Now you're talking about the property that you intend to license. The property requires other things like documents from NLA. You need consent forms if you're not the owner. You need lease agreements that carries expiration dates, etc. Let's look at if you are applying as a company or if the property is owned by a company. Now you're looking at articles of incorporation, you're looking at business registration certificates, you're looking at tax compliance certificates, etc. The point I'm trying to make is each part of the application process has a number of documents associated with that part of the process. Now, if you are to track those things manually, especially as it relates to the expiration date of things, or where one person has several applications in a process, it can be difficult. The JBG makes all of that simple. One of the ways it makes it simple, and you alluded to it in your presentation, is the notification feature or function. So if I am an applicant and I applied for, let's say, a retail herb house, and my driver's license expires, the JBG will tell me that it expires. If my lease agreement is coming to an end, the JBG will inform me that I need a new lease agreement. If my TCC is expired and required for the renewal process, the JBG will inform me of those things. So no longer will an officer need to sit, go through a file, find the information, sit and write an email to an individual in respect of an individual application, because Janine Chin may own a cultivator, a retailer, and another nicer type. And while I'm on that point, I'd like to mention the passing of the Data Protection Act. I think that one is important. So what you will find is that application A asks you for your ID, you submit it. Now you need an employee letter. The process to get the employee letter also requires your ID. Formally, you submit it again. So when you look on the file, you have 10 IDs for Janine Chin, which makes no sense, right? Now, with the information already being in the JBG on the back end, when you go to apply now, let's say for your employee letter, the system will already recognize that you have sufficient information in the system, and it can just go ahead and process that part of it. So I believe, in a very simple way, that's how it would assist us in our processes.
Okay, thank you for that. And one of the things I want to point out is we would have been talking about pain points for clients, but there are pain points for the teams as well. You know, as would have been explained, there is a requirement, and that's why you may have felt it loaded, but a regulatory authority has a responsibility to go through due diligence. And it's the same for the other regulatory authorities that we have on the JBG. And so we recognize and appreciate that we are supporting our government partners as well in the tasks that they have to do in ensuring that there is due diligence and all that comes with it. And so to close, I have one last general question for everyone. What are you looking forward to the most as you onboard your clients to use the gateway?
I can start. I think one of the things, well, if I'm being honest, it's probably two. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is just the ease of seamlessness of getting the documents uploading and be able to ensure the follow-through that they need to be able to get what they need to invest in the country. Because a lot of them, they feel very pressured because they know that certain things are on a time crunch. And so being able to know that they did their due diligence to upload and to see where it is and to get the feedback and to know what is next, I think that is something that also makes my life easier as well, because when they call and they get frustrated and they're not sure and they say, but this person is not helping me, and at the ministry we try to go on above and beyond and ensure that we direct them where they're supposed to go. So I think having them being able to be on the platform like that and receive the necessary communication that they need also helps me to be able to help them and, you know, ensure that nobody feels any grievances, nobody feels, you know, slighted or that they're not getting the response in the most efficient time. And two, I think it also will help me on the back end, because when it, you know, becomes time to be able to make decisions or to change, you know, how our general guidelines and process flows works, we're able to see trends a little bit better, because we're humans. There are human error that happens sometimes, and especially in the tourism sector, you know, you have peak season and you have low season, and boy, when peak season is kicking, they want their things right away, they want their things immediately, they want to know how quickly can the turnaround time be lessened. So it helps to ensure efficiency, it helps to ensure just that we don't get overpressured and make mistakes, because we also have a responsibility to ensure that we're maintaining and keeping the standards that are in keeping with what the tourism sector stands for.
I think I'd like to jump on the back of Tamara's response, because I think the sentiment is shared, except for our industry, it's always peak season. So I think a couple of things that I'd like to achieve for our clients, one would be peace of mind. in the fact that their processes are in and everything is being handled. Producers, fixers, persons who are applying for film registrations, they are always under pressure because they're handling several other processes in the back end. And this is just one process that we do not want to add the unnecessary stress. In addition to that, I personally would like to manage expectations. Internally, we have our service agreement where we, request information, like correct information to be submitted minimum 3 business days before arriving in Jamaica. We get requests on the day people arrive at 10 a.m. when we start work at 8:30. So at least, you can start your applications, get your information over the weekend. Monday morning we get to come in, we get to see what is happening and begin the processing. At least, you as the producer can see on the back end that this is being processed. And in addition, and following up on Tamar, we feel the pressure on the back end because we're trying to serve our clients. And again, the human error is there. So if I'm being pushed to an unrealistic timeline, I'm going to make errors, which is going to impact your production. And then it's just a cycle of correction and frustration.
Well, I don't want to steal what Sheldon and Tamar said. So I'll go in a slightly different direction. And this one may be a little bit for you to, Janine, to tell me. What I am most interested in is where it will go. What we have now, it speaks to the application process by itself, but we have other processes. We have exporting, we have importing, we have employees, we have post-licensing activities like harvest, sales, and that sort of thing. So what I would like to see is a full-service platform that incorporates all of those post-licensing processes so that when we get to the renewal of license stage, the system has all of that information in it that we can pull on to make the decision for the renewal going forward. So that is what I would like to see.
Wonderful. So I asked him a loaded question, so he put me on the spot, but that's okay because we too actually want that. And as we continue to evolve, we are always looking for other funding opportunities because the support is needed in that regard too, to continue to expand. And as I mentioned, we anticipated 43 processes and ended with 159. It's because of that process of using and testing and feedback that really unearths all the potential that there still is. And we look forward to continuing to expand on. So I meet you there, O'Shane. We're looking to take it a step further as well. And with that, I would really like to say thank you to being here with me. Don't run off yet, because I know it's question and answer, so you're going to do it with me. But thank you for that, and thank you for everyone's attention so far as we walked through what it meant to be one of the pioneering entities on the Jamaica Business Gateway. And so I think we're going to open to questions.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Very interesting discussion about the Jamaica Business Gateway. It's the first time I'm hearing about it, so I'm happy to be here. I have one question for Mrs. Chin. The fantastic work that you have done to get this far, it's just great. And as I listen to the persons on the panel, I can see it has helped them tremendously. Now, the buzzword in business today is artificial intelligence. And my question is, how do you think you might be able to even further improve the efficiency of the JBG by engaging artificial intelligence?
Okay. Thank you for that question. And I do appreciate the question because if we're talking about digital transformation, we have to go all the way. Yeah? As it is now, in a very basic sense, we have it applied in our help desk area. And so what we do and the reason why we continually add articles to the platform is because we're using artificial intelligence to help to generate responses to common questions persons are asking when they interact. As we continue to develop, though, and as AI continues to develop, we will be looking at other ways that we can incorporate use of AI in not only engaging in the very basic aspects of content, but certainly in how we connect with other portals and how, as O'Shane would have alluded to, we're looking at functionalities that can go beyond just the application process. At this stage, the scope of work we had really was just focused on moving and our applications from a manual point, bringing them into being digitalized on a system. But I do welcome that question and feedback, because AI is an area where we continue to look at our development team in how we can develop the platform further. And I think that is going to really come out of the added functionalities that will come in the future beyond just the applications.
Good morning, everybody. Felipe Sanchez, a proud member of JAMPRO. So I have a question in regards to the different channels that the Jamaica Business Gateway has. As we become more and more digital, we'll have bots responding to you. What other channels do we have? Because sometimes it's urgent and we still need that human touch.
That help in the initial stage, but persons do want to be able to have someone that they feel they're talking to. And it's not uncommon for websites to have, you can ask a question and it's generated and you really opt to have someone. So there are two channels that we have right now. You do have the opportunity to engage in a discussion forum. And that discussion forum will connect you directly with the entities. You can ask questions. And the discussion forum is twofold. You can ask questions of entities and get a response from them. Naturally, there is a limitation to office hours in that regard. But there's also discussion forums for the government entities themselves, because oftentimes they have to collaborate on applications that come in, and sometimes they need to whether provide feedback, input, and so on. So we do have, beyond just the bots and a ticketing system, dedicated spaces in which these consultations can take place. We also have made available consultation dashboards, quite different from the application process. This is now a functionality. And we do have entities that are required to consult with the business community from time to time on things that they are working on. And this tool on the gateway actually allows them to publish the information, to raise questions, to have a discussion forum dedicated around the matter that must be consulted also. So those are the things that we currently have in place, and we're looking at other channels as we continue to get feedback from our partners about other avenues in which we find a need for communication to be optimized on the gateway. Thank you. No more go. Here we go. One more.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. Sharifa Paul with the National Competitiveness Council. Firstly, big congratulations to JAMPRO, Janine, and the entire team, all the MBAs as a part of the JBG. It's definitely game-changing. Two questions, and I'll pose the first one perhaps to the panelists and then to you, Janine. We've heard a lot of the user experience in terms of the MDA experience, the increase in efficiency, how it has really transformed and allowed you to transform your service to your clients. Are you in a position to say what has the clients, your users' experience been so far, or what can they really look forward to? The question to you, Janine, is in relation to the PIRs. So the PIR, as offered by the Ministry of Tourism, was signaled. Could you share a bit more about other PIRs that are accessible via the gateway? Thanks so much.
So let me start. Are we back up? Okay. All right. So other PIRs include PIR for health, for manufacturing. We stated tourism as well. The two others, agriculture, and there is another that's not immediately coming to me. But we do have 5 PIRs. Just to note, when you go on the website, there is a section called Digital Services, and that is where you can find all the applications that are currently available. As I hand over to the team in terms of their client use, one thing I will say is that they have been very strategic in having clients either individually test instead of overwhelming the team and the process. They have invited persons to test at different stages, and so maybe they can speak to that aspect of things. I know for some, I think in the case of CLA, how we have approached that, because they have quite a bit of processes, is allowing them to test internally live applications and run that parallel to their manual process, which is quite abreast with global practice in terms of digital implementation when you have quite a bit. So I can hand over to the panel now in terms of how they may have been working with some of their clients in coming on board. Tamara, I think they're putting you on the spot.
The two of them just looking at
I
me.
know.
I'm just, it's okay, I can go. All right, so what we at the ministry did was a kind of phased approach. So what we did was we identified out of our 3 subsectors which one would be easier to translate over to the JBG. So we started with the car rental association. So what we did is that we began with a training session. So we contacted our partners at the different car rentals and we said, all right, we're going to have a training because we are moving over and we are working in tandem with JAMPRO to be able to make this process a little simpler for you. So we had an entire training session. Janine and the team were on speed dial when, they had a question that we couldn't answer. And they began the process. So following the training, we asked them to do a test. So try to upload your documents and we'll let you know if we get it. We'll let you know if there's any issues. That way, we could see what issues were on their end and what issues were on our end. So that if there was anything that was happening, we'd be able to also submit a ticket from our end to let them know, all right, the client is having this issue. This is the problem that they're having. All right, how can we rectify it? So after we did that, what we said to them is similar to what CLA is doing. Send it both on the platform and to us by soft copy. So should there be any issues, we can work to rectify that. So if, for example, something came up and we saw a document was missing and they said, oh, but we submitted it, we would have been able to pull back from what they sent us through email and I said, all right, we're going to re-upload it up onto the platform. So it's still a process, especially for the ground transportation sector, because outside of the car rentals, the contract carriage, they're not very keen to switch over to the, the whole technology aspect of it. But it's a staged approach and we work with them and we let them know, let us know when you've sent it. Let us know when you're having any issues so that we therefore can send. And for the most part, they've been able to. Some of them had a little, teething pains in terms of reminding themselves where to go next in the process. But once they had an issue, they'd call us and let us know. And we said, all right, remember you're supposed to go here. This is how you submit that. And then we'll let you know when we see it and to show that it is submitted, because they'll say, all right, we submitted it. Do you see it? And we say, yes, we do. And then we can go take the process from there.
Thank you. I'll go next. I think right now we are running our processes in parallel in the sense that our film registration comparatively would be a much simpler process, even though it triggers so much. So we here at JAMPRO decided to kind of jump head first into the process between usage and testing. So as of April, we have been pushing our clients to use it, and it has been a big testing process, and in a very real way, because it's a new process, because it's changing, there is frustration. But with each pain point, with each frustration point, we have been learning on how, we've been learning, and they've been giving us feedback in many ways on how to improve the platform and how to improve the services. And just based on that feedback internally and externally, we're trying to make the platform a better process for them and for us. So we're still in that learning phase, but it is being used.
Okay, so for us, we, and Janine was right there beside us through the entire process. We had to scale back on testing externally because we made a number of changes to our internal processes. So little did I know, I thought that we could just change something internally, and I just called Janine and say, hey, we'll change this, you need to change it on the portal, only to learn that's not how it works. And sometimes even a simple change in our process would amount to 5, 6, 7, 10 changes on the back end for the JBG. So we weren't able to. So as a result of that, we are still in dialogue with the makers to have those issues addressed. But in the meantime, we have been pretending to be external customers, creating fictitious applications, sending it to ourselves, and then testing it on the back end. Right. So we've been doing that, and we have recognized through that process, because it's easy to just place yourself in someone else's shoes, divorce yourself. I'm no longer the director. I'm just somebody applying for a license, and go through, and then you're able to see the experience and the things that someone would reasonably see, and we're still in contact to try and ameliorate some of those things.
And I just want to tie that question with saying kudos to the team. There were a lot of times they were a little worried or overwhelmed because they're saying, but I didn't realize I had to tell you this, or I couldn't bring on more clients. And I had to say, guys, this is a part of digital transformation. When you're operationalizing something, it's not linear, and you're going to get the feedbacks. You're going to call me and tell me you can't find the thing. It's okay. It's a part of why we call this a true hands-on experience, and they've come quite a far way. There are things that in development we never recognized. The proof is really in the eating, and so when they would call and say, boy, this thing is not working, or the client not seeing it, we jump on it, we shift it, we move it, and it is exactly how it happens in digital transformation all the time. So we keep each other motivated, and we're happy. We're actually happy when we get the feedback, because it means it's being used, it's being tested, and we're going to get other features and functionalities that we didn't even start with. So kudos to the team for wading through those waters when you get those calls.
All right, hi everyone, good morning. My name is Chanel Spence, also from JAMPRO. Quick question for you, Janine. In light of the Data Protection Act, could you just reinforce for us the protection of data on the JPG?
Okay, thank you for that. I was waiting for that question. I thought it would come sooner. So when we started our development process, the Act had not been in force as yet, but we knew it was in train. And so one of the things that we made sure is that when we worked with the development team, critical data is siloed to ensure that how development was done was in keeping with what would be required under the Act. And so JAMPRO is the owner insofar as managing the process of having development and expansion take place, but JAMPRO can see nothing. The members here, they can't see each other's information. There are permissions and restrictions even at an entity level to ensure that data is only passed and managed in the way it ought to be. In terms of the system itself, eGov, we would have mentioned early on, were partners from day one, and the servers that house the gateway actually are at eGov, and eGov does security and vulnerability tests as well to ensure that the data is protected and that nothing is compromised. So we were very deliberate from the very point of that planning and design stage ahead of development to ensure that data is being managed in the strictest sense. Although everything can be done online, you do have entities that the regulations require that at least a final document be physical. Sometimes there's a specific seal or designation. At that point, that can be managed, and persons do have a digital copy that's noted not to be the actual license, so that they're aware of where they are in the process. There are others that are allowed to have issuance digitally as well. And so we treat with each entity based on their specific requirements. But in terms of the creation of data, management, and exchange of data, it has always, from day one, been in keeping with the requirements of the Act. All right, so it seems we have no questions. Thank you very much to members of the panel and for everyone's attention.
Thank you so much, Janine, Sheldon, Tamar, and O'Shane. Sheldon, I saw that you were very comfortable up there, like you did not want to get up. Now, we are about to close. That was the final component to this program. And there's something I need to ask you. So, what I have gathered here, Janine, and audience, is that the Jamaica Business Gateway, right? Now, the successful implementation of this platform represents a key element of Jamaica's business environment reform agenda, as by embracing digital transformation, we can establish a business-friendly environment that promotes efficiency, transparency, and accountability. And this will be beneficial for everyone, right? So then how comes everybody just look deady? No, look happy about it. Like, you guys are still looking forward to joining long lines and going through all these different documentations. I don't see anybody looking so lively and happy and excited about this. Yeah, yes, that's more like it. That is more like it. Now, there are some other key takeaways that I have gathered from the presentations and even from that panel discussion. The first thing is that new projects, change, transformation will always come with challenges. Now, there is this, now I can't remember the full story. My brain isn't that good, but when I was younger, I was always told about Milton Hershey. I don't know if you guys know Milton Hershey. He's the founder of Hershey chocolates. Now, he's the man who blessed us with the sweet milk chocolate treat we all love, right? And guess what? It wasn't a hit at the first time. Second time, third time, fourth time, it wasn't. Before launching his own candy business, he had worked for a local candy factory, and then he decided to go out on his own, and he failed miserably many times. Despite all the failures, he returned to his family farm and perfected the art of making the delicious milk chocolate candy which we enjoy in the form of Hershey chocolate today. So what does that say? We just have to keep going. We are going to face challenges, right? Janine, no, it does not say we must just eat Hershey's, right? What it is saying is that the first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most powerful, right? So we have begun the process. And yes, once again, we have to give kudos to Janine and the entire team for beginning this process for us. And what we will do is fix the mistakes. They will happen. Sheldon spoke about it, right? They will happen. So we just fix the mistakes and we move forward. Second thing is problems are inevitable. There's this quote by John C. Maxwell. Yes, I love quotes and I love to speak about people who have shared their experiences. So there's this quote by John C. Maxwell, and it says, "There are 3 reasons problems are inevitable. First, we live in a world of growing complexity and diversity. Second, we interact with people, and oh yes, we know that is a major source of problem. A lot of personalities, each person have different needs, right? Third, we cannot control all the situations we face, right? Now, if we think about it, this is very true. And if we think about the gateway, its purpose, and the fact that it is new, we can see how all of these 3 reasons may create inevitable problems. But how do we continue pressing? As Janine said, your feedback and constructive criticism are welcome and very necessary. So we are not saying that, oh, yes, problems are going to arise and we must just sit pretty and just leave them because we expect it. No. What I heard Janine saying and what I heard the panelists saying is that they're going to arise. However, the feedback is welcome, it is necessary, and the early feedback is usually better than the late criticism. Right? Now, With that said, I will wrap up. We have come to the end of our program. Once again, let me thank all the speakers and supporting partners from the inception up until now, and I guess in the future as well. We have eGov Jamaica Limited, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Ministry of Tourism, Cannabis Licensing Authority, Jamaica Customs Agency, and of course, JAMPRO. Right? Your participation in this event and the development of this Jamaica Business Gateway is a testament of your dedication to the growth and development of not simply our government agencies, but also our country. A heartfelt thank you to all the attendees who have taken the time to join us today. You guys suffered in the traffic. I know a lot of you probably even got up early and skipped breakfast just to try and be here on time. We appreciate you. Your presence and engagement are crucial to the success of this Jamaica Business Gateway, and we hope that you will find that you found the discussions and presentations informative and inspiring. Once again, thank you all for being here today. We're excited to embark on this journey of learning, collaborating, and revolutionizing with you. Let us now proceed with making the best use of this online platform, the Jamaica Business Gateway. It has been a pleasure moderating this session and spending the morning with you. Again, my name is Deidre Dixon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. We look forward to great things happening. Once more, for those who are able to, please join us in the networking session, which begins as soon as I stop speaking. And we also have the Consumer Affairs Commission here. They have a booth outside, so they invite you to visit them when you're able to as well. To every single attendee here and online, good morning if it's still good morning, or good afternoon, and do enjoy the rest of your day.